Now I want to review for you the concepts of slope, distance, and midpoint. When 2 points are put on a plane, these are three of the measurements that can be taken in regards to those 2 points. We'll start off with slope. Slope is the steepness and direction of the line, or what's called the rate of change. Slope is a ratio. It compares a line's rise over the run, meaning, how fast is the line changing up and down versus how fast it's changing from side to side. The triangle there is the Greek letter delta, which means change. In math, change is represented by subtraction. So that leads us to slope formula, which says that if you can get those 2 points and you subtract the y's on top, subtract the x's on the bottom, and then divide, that number will give you the line's slope. Now, when you subtract, you have the possibility of getting a negative. Now, if both numbers are negative and you divide two negatives, you still get a positive, but it is possible to get a negative. And we mentioned that slope not only gives you the steepness of a line, it also gives you the direction. Well, the direction is denoted by the sign. So, yeah, the obvious, with a slope, the bigger the number, the steeper the line is, and the smaller the number, the flatter it is, but the sign has nothing to do with that, meaning a slope of positive 5 is just as steep as a slope of negative 5. What's going to be different is their directions. So if you look in red, these are the 4 different types of slopes. Regardless of how steep a line is, any line that is said to be going, let's get this to work right, that is said to be going up and to the right, or down and to the left, would have a positive slope. Any slope that is going down and to the right at the same time, or up and to the left, would have a negative slope. A line that has no up and down movement and just only goes left and right, or horizontal, that has a 0 slope. When you're on a treadmill and you set the incline to 0, the treadmill is completely horizontal. And finally, if you have no left and right movement and only up and down, then that slope is said to be undefined. In this case, the word undefined is synonymous with infinite. It's said to have an infinite slope. When you have 2 lines on a plane, it's possible that those lines could be parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So we'll talk more about parallel lines in the coming weeks. But as far as on a coordinate plane is concerned, parallel lines have the same slope. If you wanted to be specific, they would have also different y-intercepts, but here we're focused on slope. So parallel lines have the same slope. If 2 lines are deemed to have the same slope, those lines are parallel. Perpendicular lines are a little bit tricky. Perpendicular lines, the slope is the negative reciprocal of each other, where the word negative means they have to have different signs, and reciprocal means that one fraction is the flip version of the other one. So for instance, if slope is rise over run, the rise of one line would become the run of the other one, and vice versa. Also, one slope would have to be positive and the other one would have to be negative. Next, we'll talk about distance. Distance is often confused with slope, but slope is not a distance. Slope is a comparison of distances. With slope, you're comparing a vertical distance to a horizontal distance, but with distance formula, you're just measuring a straight distance between 2 points. So if we have 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, here is distance formula. Let's break this down piece by piece. These are the steps that you should be using when you use distance formula. The first thing we want to do is we want to substitute the x and y values into distance formula. Then we're going to do the subtraction that's inside of the parentheses. Then we're going to do the squares, the exponents, which an interesting fact is anytime you square a number, you need to end up with a positive. So if either your x's or your y ends up being negative, you're doing something wrong. Finally, we'll do the addition, and the last step is the square root. Midpoint is exactly what it sounds like. If you have 2 points on a plane, it's a way of measuring what's in the middle. What exact location is in the middle. So midpoint formula, let me rewrite this a better way. If you want to have the midpoint of the x's and the midpoint with the y's, we would say that the midpoint of the x's are the two different x's added and divide by 2. And the midpoint for the y's would be add the y's and divide by 2. Basically what you're doing is taking the average. It's the average of the x coordinates and the average of the y coordinates.